Good evening. It's Thursday night, January 5th, 2023. I'm your host, John Shink. Host of what? Host of the Deerwood Realty live stream. That's what you're watching tonight. Who's John Shink? Well, John Shink's talking about himself in the third person, but that's me. I'm the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis. We're a small residential real estate firm. We concentrate mainly on helping buyers buy homes and sellers selling theirs. In the evenings, I do a live stream. It's the Deerwood Realty live stream. We talk about pop culture. We talk about real estate news and happenings. We talk about the economy. We talk about anything else that you'd like to talk about. But we normally stay away from like the most talked about things during the day because I feel like you've got enough places to go to talk about that. So that's who I am. That's what I do. We've got a great show tonight. We're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about rats in New York City. If you don't want to talk about rats, I mean, I don't know what's wrong with you. We're going to talk about some of the wonderful things about buying a home that's actually real, like that's actual real stuff. We're going to talk about, like I'm going to call it listings hygiene. What do you do if you have a listing as a real estate agent? What should you expect out of your real estate agent? Then we'll go look at Twitter. We'll talk about some stuff over there. Twitter was a little bit off today, so I'm not looking real. It's not looking real good. I'd hate for that to be the reason why you didn't watch, but I just got a whole bunch of information. So I just got a whole bunch. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to talk about 3 articles tonight. It's 30%. One of them is 30% of all realtors to quit during the housing crash. Will I be one of those realtors to quit? No, I'm a lifer. I've already had the misery and terribleness in the real estate game. I've already had that, so it's not going to keep me. But we'll go over what might happen to others. 2 key charts to contextualize the U.S. housing market. So this was an article written by somebody I respect in December, and it looks at the housing market in a way that I've kind of looked at it as well. We'll go over that. And then finally, an article on Realtor.com. Are sellers making a fatal error? Now, to me, a fatal error is deadly. It doesn't seem like people are making a deadly error by pricing their house. We'll talk about it. I don't think that if you watch my show that you would make a I don't know that you would make that error. It doesn't make any sense to me why you would do that. So anyway, man, I got to stop reading. I got to stop looking at my email during my show. Anyway, how are you? How's it going? I'm doing all right. Today was one of those strange days where it got cold during the day. Like it started off in the 40s and it just started to go down. And I was like, I was wearing my favorite jacket right now. And as it got colder and colder and I was out more and more, I was like, I need a different jacket. It's freaking cold. And so the furnace is running. I don't know if you can hear it. I've been working on my microphone sound today. I think it's going to be one of those things where I'm never going to be happy about it at this point. It's been so long. I need to get another light on my screen because like you can see how you can see the shadow of the microphone right there. And when you have the light up at the top, for someone like myself with no hair, it just bounces right off. And so there's just this big spot. It looks stupid. But these are the issues that I have to deal with, and so be it. So let's get into things. I don't know if I'll be here for the whole hour. I have no idea. I don't know what's going to go on. I very seldom ever know. The days that I think aren't going to go very well go longer, and the days that I think are going to go great tend to go slow. So we'll just see how it goes tonight. I wanted to start off the show as like, what should you expect as a listing agent? Like what are the things that you should expect? What should you expect them to do it got really strange for me over the years. I used to be a property manager, and one of the property managers was listing a house, and the agent told me one day, she was like, the lady that owns this house told me that I have to go and shut the bathroom door after every showing because she doesn't like doors open. And she lived in a different part of the country. And I said, that's insane. The idea that you would have to go and do such a thing is crazy after every showing. And then I had another agent friend that used to, we had a name for, and we use that name as like how you act when you have a listing. We called it the blank person, the name person. And what it was is she would always go to houses after showings every time. Like if there was a showing at 10, she would go at 10:30, after the people left, run in there immediately and go fold the towels and make sure the lights were on properly. So we used to make fun of her for that. But then as I got my own brokerage and as I was a real estate agent and as I was listing homes, it got to be something that after viewing so many homes on the buyer's agent side, there's things that I know that just irritate you or irritate most people is when they're going to buy a home. And so, for instance, one of those things is like if I'm showing a house and the floor is full of leaves inside, I don't like that. Or if somebody's tracked water in the house and the floor is all nasty, I don't like that. I don't like that. So currently, if somebody that I know, somebody I'm listing a home with lives in the house, there are rules to follow that we go over because I'm trying to get the best money for them, and 99% of the sellers appreciate the fact that I'm telling them anything, and so we go over things like get the floor done. One of the things weird on listings is if you really want to make an impression on people and it's a decent house, get the windows washed. You'd be shocked at how clean windows will show off the house. It's weird. You would think like, what difference does it make? But the clean windows are just great. We have other things that I don't like. Like I don't like if I hear water running or dripping. That's no. If the refrigerator is dirty, you may say, well, I'm taking the refrigerator with me. And why do I care if my refrigerator is dirty? Well, if it is, people are like, it speaks to how you take care of a place. One of my pet peeves is lights that are like the cool lights and the warm lights in fixtures that are mixed together. Oof. That one really bothers me. But I mean, there's not a whole lot, people want to do that. That's what they can do. But those are all houses that people are occupying. What do you do when you have a seller that isn't in town? How do you take care of that home? And that's something that I think you should pay attention to when you're talking with an agent. Now, look, they may lie. They may completely lie and say what they'll do. But for me, if I have a seller that's out of town, when I list the house, if there are showings during the day, I will go over that night and make sure that the door is locked, the lights are out, and the house is clean and ready to be shown the next morning. I think nothing of it. And that would be like within a half hour's drive from my house. That gets me pretty far. I just want you to sell. I just want sellers to be able to sell their house. And I want to make a good first impression. Now, for other buyers, will other agents do this? No. And I was talking to my wife today. I have a condo that I listed, and my sellers are out of town, and I just wanted to make sure that the house or the condo was in good shape while they're gone. It doesn't take long for like a water issue, like a faucet to go out or something like that. It doesn't take long at all to destroy the whole house. So I just feel like at times if I can be over there, if I know something's going wrong. We had a pretty good amount of rain this weekend. Did it leak in the basement? Are the doors locked? Is there a bunch of trash in the place? Are for me, the blinds matter? Are the blinds up or the blinds down? I kind of prefer to have the blinds down because I don't want people looking in the house. That's just weird. So things like that. But my wife looked at me like I had a third eye today because I did that. And I was just wondering, all of you, like, tell me, what do you think? How should I take care of a house when it's listed and the seller isn't in town? Put it in the comment section. Put it in the chat. Let's move on. I have to get the next topic because I've got like 17 things on my mind. Okay. I have another story. I have another thought. Let's put it that way. I need to fix something because it's not in the right spot. Now I've got a mess. Okay. That goes there. Oh, not good. I just realized I made a mess here. We're just going to wait. Sorry. Okay. Now we're in better shape. Okay. How do I put this? All right. So there's so many things in life, okay, that are less than enjoyable in the sense that say somebody hypes an event, like remember that fire festival? And then people actually went to it and it was like lame. There's a lot of that. People can promoters can get you places and it'd be lame when you get there. Like, wow, this wasn't what I expected. This is terrible. Don't get your hopes up type things. Like that's something that's quite annoying, right? Well, it's also fake. And you also feel like you were taken advantage of because, it wasn't as great as you thought it would be. Other things like you buy a new car and it's really, really expensive and you feel so uncomfortable with the payments that you're like, I don't really like this car that much. Well, one of the things in life that seems to be true and something that I've noticed and something that's wonderful to be a part of that keeps me going in the tough times is when first-time homebuyers actually get a home that they want. Like they get it under contract and it's going to be successful. I've been working with a couple. They called me in January of 2022. They said we're not really interested in buying a house, but we'd like to get the process started. So I put them in touch with lenders, and we started looking at houses, and I started explaining like this is the things that provide value or create value for a home. These are the things that you might want to pay attention to. And as I've said, the market was just tough. And these poor home buyers would be out there and we'd go to houses and either the house was just terrible or we'd put an offer at 40 or 50, $60,000 over asking and they wouldn't get it. And this happened over and over and over again. And it was just like the one time we were second. We were second on the list. And I always told them, and I've always believed this, and I say this to anybody that's out there buying a house. Look, there's a house for you. Okay. It may not be right away. Some people try to force the issue. That's when you get in trouble. But there's a house for you, and you're going to get it, and it's good. So it's hard to believe, though. And especially if you're in a certain age group and you're in a certain area of profession, your profession, you're starting to make some money, some decent money. it's like all of a sudden we would go look at houses and like they would tell me like one of their friends bought a house. And we would go over it and like, so one of their friends bought a house and it was a fix and flip. I said, don't buy a fix and flip. And they're like, well, they look pretty. And I'm like, I know that, but you have to understand there's a reason. There's something to be worried about. They probably didn't fix the house right. The first time something goes wrong, it's going to be on you. And sure enough, the first time it rained for these friends of theirs' house, the basement flooded and destroyed the whole finished basement. So the whole reason they went to buy the house was because it was all done and they didn't have to do anything. And now their house is destroyed, or their basement is. You know, they believed me the whole time, but it was hard. It's hard to lose out on deal after deal after deal. But you know, they had a price in mind. They weren't going to the top of their budget. They understood with me that this was maybe a once in a generation event. And they persevered, okay? And just, I mean, less than 30 days ago, there was a house that they saw, and we went to it. There were 3 other houses on the tour that day. We looked at it, and I said to him, I said, look, this seems to have more than what you've ever been looking for in a house, and it's priced right where it needs to be. You know, would you consider making an offer? And they're like, well, we're going to go to Costco, and we'll either wait or we'll let you know, we'll put in an offer. And I said, okay. Well, I got a text before they even left Costco that was like, we're not waiting, we're putting an offer. And then it was a question of formulating an offer that would win. Even in a slow market, you don't always get the opportunity to come in really way under asking. And so we put the offer in, and then it's terrible. We put the offer in on like a Saturday, and they were taking offers up until Monday. And it was just like, the listing agent was not very responsive. In fact, he's not been very responsive the whole time. We'll talk about that next if I can remember it. I'm writing it down. Let's see if I can read my handwriting. Monday comes along. I think I got a text from the seller's agent. Congratulations, we got a deal. My buyers were excited. Now we had the inspections to go through. We had, to get the financing in order and things like that. But they were excited and they were happy, and that feeling is so nice, so nice. They said, so the whole time they've been just excited and fun to work with. This month has gone by. It hasn't even been a month, but this time has gone by so well. They believed in the process. They believed in me. They stuck to their guns, and they got a house, I believe, better than any house they've ever put an offer on for what they really, really wanted to spend. And so, I mean, it's just amazing. And it keeps me going because they're so happy. I mean, when we had the walkthrough, and they were like, this is what we're going to paint this room. They weren't talking about, remodeling the whole house or anything like that. It's a young couple. They don't have a whole lot. And so they talked about painting, and they're going to change some lights out. And the fellow went and bought a bunch of hardware equipment at Harbor Freight and Home Depot, and they've been to Lowe's, like 12 times since the house went under contract. It's just fun. And tomorrow will be the final step where they will get the keys, and they will enjoy themselves. Like, they will truly be happy. And in my business, like, there's not a lot of times when people are super happy. There's relief. There's relief that a deal is done, but happy, man. So anyway, that's that. Now, I'll couch that with another story on a different house. What do you expect out of your listing agent? Do you expect your listing agent to communicate effectively with buyer's agents? I'll tell you, I have been let down big time in my career by people that I think I should be respecting because of their ability to list so many properties or because of their ability to market themselves. And then you meet them in person, or you meet them or you do a deal with them, and they're just terrible. And that also is something that happened to me recently. There was this fellow that, he's on YouTube. He's at a certain brokerage where they think very highly of themselves. And I mean, getting a deal done with that fellow, the lines of communication were so bad. You send an email, you get it back like 3 days later. And these are things like I was talking about last night. It's very hard to find a good real estate agent. How do you know how many transactions they've done? How do you know how they're going to treat their current clients? Like, what happens when you want to use a certain realtor and they're part of a team and he's not allowed or she's not allowed to be helping you on the buyer's agent side? How does that work for you? How do you feel? How do you feel when you find out that your listing agent, omitted key details in a listing, or you're being sued because of something that you hid knowingly? And it's just like, it's a question of, is it worth it? To me, it's not. I would never do that for a deal, but I would say not many potential buyers or sellers think about how their listing agent or buyer's agent is going to interact with the other side. I'm just telling you from experience, it's best to have somebody that can get along pretty well. So another agent can mess up your deal. There's no question. All right. That's all I have to say about that. I was fumbling with a paperclip, which I shouldn't have been doing. I should have been concentrating. Let's go look at what rates did today. 30-year rates did what? Oh, here we are on the Deerwood Realty site. Rates at 6.50%, up 9 basis points from yesterday. Rates are rising a little bit again. Still kind of too high. I don't know. I mean, as much as I hear people say that things are going to be fine. Oh man, I messed this up really badly. Now I'm really screwing things up. Why did that do that? You can see that, and I'm sorry, but man, my setup was really bad. Oh, good. Now I've got that one where I need to be on this one. I'm not even going to do that article until tomorrow, so I apologize for the delay on that. But anyway, 6.5% rates going up. Will that cool the market? I don't know. I talked to a lender today. He had 6 mortgage applications this week, but only one could qualify based on their credit. It's not good. And on those, it was income to debt ratios, he said, that was killing the deals. So they were carrying a high amount of debt. I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, at least you're getting interest. I'm getting interest, but they're not for like straight deals, like list a house for sale, help a buyer buy a home. It's like 3 steps removed. Can you help this person do this? This person might want to list a home if these things occur. That's where I'm at. Let's look at an article that that I saw come up a while back, it was the third, it says, this is out of New York City. The mayor of New York City has a rat problem at one of his deals. Let's find out what it's about. It says, rats. Eric Adams hit with more rodents summonses at a New York City building. Now, I thought that you got some sort of immunity if you held public office against like citations and stuff. But I mean, maybe that was just the UN. But let's take a look. It says, rats, they're back. A city health department inspector recently hit Mayor Adams with 2 new summons for vermin on his Brooklyn property after finding evidence of a rat runway and other telltale signs of rodents at the multi-unit brownstone. The summonses came 7 months after a previous health department inspection uncovered evidence of a rat infestation in the building, and I don't care where it's at. Both instances are embarrassment for the mayor, who has made battling the Big Apple's chronic rodent infestations a signature initiative of his first year in office. The fresh round of tickets issued to his honor on December 7th revealed that DOHMH found evidence of a rat burrow near the property's front fence, spotted droppings near trash cans placed nearby, and discovered signs of a rat runway. The inspector also deemed a pile of recycling in the front yard as harborage conditions that could encourage the nesting of additional rats. The maximum penalty for both tickets is $500. Adams' date before an administrative judge hearing the case is tentatively scheduled for January 12th. But his honor said in a statement Tuesday that he smells a rat in this whole saga. As I've said repeatedly, it's so important that each of us does our part to address the rats that all New Yorkers hate, and that's why I keep my yard clean and garbage covered in trash bins. I'm concerned that despite previously spending nearly $7,000 on rat mitigation efforts, I received 2 new summonses on the same day, even though a neutral hearing officer found that I demonstrated sufficient steps taken to prevent and control infestation at my property. I will again challenge these violations and show that rats don't run this city. My thought about this is it's interesting. In some ways, don't we look at public officials as people that obviously would follow all the laws because, I mean, they're the ones, writing them or enforcing them or telling us we should pay attention. And yet, here's the mayor of New York City getting hit with rat summons, multiple, and I just find it kind of interesting. You'd think that he would have enough sway over those inspectors that they wouldn't dare write a summons at his place. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. I thought so, at least. Let me know what you think in the comment sections. Put it in the chat. Let's move on to Twitter tonight. Housing bubble disrespecter starts it off. The amount of new construction that is currently listed at $500,000 to $900,000, but will probably eventually sell at $400,000 to $600,000 is crazy. I have a big development being built across the street from my house, and some of the pricing is just ridiculous. Like when I see the numbers, they make me sick to my stomach, and that's now. I mean, $800,000, $830,000 for a house in Afton. I mean, just insane. Just insane. So, they do change the pricing on those homes. It's just I haven't been paying too much attention because I'm just so sick of the original price. It's like, good Lord. I should look one up. I'll look one up tomorrow. Well, let's see. I don't want to cause problems. No, I better not. I'll look tomorrow. I'll look overnight and I'll get back to you tomorrow on, are they lowering the prices of these units or are they increasing them? I believe they're being lowered. Darth Powell, he writes from one Ponzi to the next in response to an article that says home equity lines, second mortgage lending spikes as consumer debt soars. I mean, the home equity line of credits was just a disaster the last time. That was just a disaster. And then the second mortgage lending, I haven't heard many people doing second mortgages in a while. Why don't you do a second mortgage? Well, you don't do a second mortgage because you're the second lien holder. And sometimes the house, the debt is so high on the house that there's nothing left for the second in line. Interesting tweet here from Alf. This is again, the Canadian housing market is in trouble. In Toronto, house prices already declined 9% year over year, and house sales have dropped to the lowest levels in over a decade. Canada has more private debt than Japan did during the 1990s real estate bubble. Honestly, not looking good for the Canadian housing market. It's all a question of how bad is it? Are we going to go down 20%? We're going down 30%? We're going down 50%? What is the number we're going down? Just not looking good isn't good enough. Aaron Layman on Twitter. This is a response to this article that I'm going to bring to you tomorrow, where it's on Redfin. A record share of home sellers are giving concessions to buyers. That's not unusual, but it says average percent of lists plummeted from 103.9% in April 2022 to 93.6% in December here in North Texas. That was the lowest reading since 2012. Phoning it is no longer an option for most home sellers. I've never really liked the phoning it in, even during the good times. I always told people, like, you can make even more money if your house is really, really nice. I mean, if you think that if you think you need paint it. If you think the flooring is terrible, change it. Like, you can really make a lot of money in this market, and you can spend, $5,000 and get $10,000 back. I mean, it was that time, but that time's over. Now you have to do it just so that you can sell it for a good price. John Wake, he writes, I heard that third hand that in Arizona, new home builders said that most sales are to out-of-state buyers and sales to Arizonans are dead. I guess it's income related. And then this Tracy Riddick, she writes, retirees moving from the north with homes completely paid off, they move with all cash, so no mortgage rates don't matter, or some mortgage rates don't matter. He says in response, if you're buying and selling at the same time, it doesn't matter if prices are up and down. What you gain on one house, you lose on the other. And like you say, if you're selling a free and clear house, there's no mortgage rate lock-in effect. You don't have a mortgage. I mean, the statistics say the Arizona market was was one of those that got bid up because of the iBuying phenomenon, and it has to go down just because it's just so out of hand. I don't know. I'm not in Phoenix. Darth Powell. This is our last tweet for tonight. I don't know if I'm being efficient or not, but it says the problem wasn't 2008. The problem was the reaction to 2008. I tend to agree that the things didn't get fixed the last time. Like really fixed, and it set the stage for things to happen again that were negative, like what we're going to be seeing. But that's just me. Let's continue. Now we'll go in the articles section. Kind of an efficient program tonight. It says, this was the one that was most interesting when it just came out at 7 o'clock tonight. It says, 30% of all realtors could quit during the housing crash. Really? It says, concerns over plunging home sales leading to a real estate exodus could be an emerging trend of 2023. The number of agents has exceeded the peak of the mid-2000s boom, but one real estate consulting firm believes hundreds of thousands of agents could quit and find other jobs as turmoil plagues the interest rate-sensitive industry. Nick Gurley, CEO and founder of Real Estate Reventure Consulting, said 30% of realtors will likely quit during this housing crash. Once that happens, the bottom is approaching. He posted a chart on Twitter that shows there are currently 1.6 million registered real estate agents. That's higher than the 2007 bubble. Now, look, I knew this was going on. I knew there were more agents entering the market during this time. You say, well, how did you know? Because the names that I saw weren't anybody that I'd ever done business with. Their license numbers are from like 2021, where mine's from like the mid 2000s. But if you look at 2007, which is the best example we have, you can see that it was almost cut. It was cut a significant amount. It was 1.37 million and went down to under a million. So a third, so 30% the last time. So it's not unreasonable to think we'd lose 30% this time. Some of that, though, I mean, I don't know if it's still true, but some of that was like people were dying off. They had been real estate agents for so long during the greatest generation, and they were just so old, they were just dying. I don't know if that's true now. I know that that was the explanation back then. It says Gurley forecast that at least 480,000 agents will exit the industry, then post a home sales total realtors ratio, only to show it's even lower than the depths of the 2008 housing crash. This means the number of deals realtors are closing is sliding due to worsening housing affordability crisis. Home sales per realtor just crashed to the lowest ever rate in 2022. I mean, if you're a new real estate agent and you have no book of business, how are you getting any deals other than your family? And you got to assume that your family likes you. That's a big step. That's a big stretch. I don't know if I want to use somebody that's never sold a house or never helped someone buy a house. I don't know if that's going to be such a good idea. It says the housing bubble has popped, but the bubble mentality is not. 1.6 million realtors are still holding on, thinking the housing market will improve in 2023. I do not. I have not thought that at all. My whole thing for this year, and as soon as I was making money, I was saying, look, I'm going to hold on to this because things could get really ugly soon. And I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be able to make it on the other side. It says, he expects a wave of realtors to inevitably quit in 2023, and when they quit, it will likely coincide with investors, flippers, stubborn sellers quitting as well, and that's when you'll see inventory and listings really explode. Gurley reminds everyone this is the biggest bubble ever in housing. We already pointed out months ago that real estate agents should be on the hunt for new jobs as the Federal Reserve's most aggressive interest rate hikes and quantitative tightening is killing the demand side of the market. And of course, real estate agents don't get paid when there are no buyers. There was even a report in October that many realtors couldn't pay their office rent. That was a little bit of a weird story. I remember reading it and going over it with you. It wasn't particularly accurate. I didn't particularly like that one. So anyway, realtors who were on top of the world during the easy money times and housing boom during COVID bought fancy vehicles. Well, that fast money has already evaporated. And I did see this was a tweet. I don't have the picture in front of me, but it was this guy with a Mercedes G-Wagon in Toronto. He's like, just take over the payments for me. And they were $2,800 a month, which is just not good. And it says, and if realtors are to leave the industry, don't worry about learning how to code. Perhaps going back to bartending is a viable solution. So that was a shot. That was a shot at real estate agents' value or worth. 2 key charts to contextualize the U.S. housing market. This is from Mike Delpreet. I like this guy. He knows his stuff. But this article was written December 12th. It's now January 5th. The market has not gotten any better since he wrote this article. It says, media headlines are focused on a crashing U.S. real estate market, but the truth is more nuanced with less hyperbole. Now, look, this is almost taken out the iBuyer phenomenon already, and it's still going to get worse. Context matters. The reality is the market is down, but simple comparisons to sky-high 2021 are amplifying the scale of the decline. Arm yourself with the right data, 2 key charts to understand and contextualize this dynamic market. Okay. It says monthly home sales are collected and published by the National Association of Realtors, but historical data beyond 2021 is not easily accessible and rarely included in analysis. With help from the National Association of Realtors, I've published this data in the past, and now I'm publishing a direct link to a live chart, U.S. existing home sales. So let's see if that's true, like right now. It's getting worse. We got our November data at 326,000. Okay? I think, yes. And what is this one to? Oh, it's not clickable. I don't even know. Is this the same chart? January, I don't even know. October, November, December. This is November. We know that it's at 326 in November. And this looks like it's just the October numbers. It's gotten worse. It says, while existing home sales are down in the second half of 2022, the deviation from historical averages is not nearly extreme as a drop from last year. So what he's saying is year over year, like there's a huge seasonality component in real estate, at least where I'm at. From December to like March, I'm not doing much real estate wise. One or two deals here and there, but not anything like the summer. And then it says, looking forward, a leading indicator for the future housing market is consumer demand for mortgage loans, specifically purchase loans. The mortgage application data alongside average mortgage rates is published weekly by the Mortgage Bankers Association. Here's what the chart looks like so far. Let's look at this. So there it is, 2023, 30-year fixed at 6.48%. But you need to get that demand. Do you see how it's going down? Purchase demand and mortgage rate. See how the purchase rate is down? It's at 4% in this chart, but if you look at our chart now, it's gotten down to 2%. It's not good. So the data has only gotten worse since he wrote this article, and no criticism to him in any way. It says the bottom line in the last 6 months of 2022 have been challenging, and it appears likely that low volumes will continue well into 2023. But it's not as bleak as the news headlines may lead you to believe. It's pretty bad on the demand side. Do your own research and make your own conclusions with the right data. U.S. existing home sales and purchase mortgage data demand are a great start, or you just talk to a real estate agent that's in the business all the time. I have a pretty good sense of what's going on in the market. I can't put it right to numbers, but like I look at things and how would I structure a deal for buyers? How, if I'm listing a house for sale, how would I structure that deal to get something done for the sellers? Let's move on to the last article. We're really at the end? I'm not going to get to an hour tonight, and that's okay. Let me make sure I got this set up. Okay, the fatal pricing mistake home sellers are making right now is this you. Now, I don't know that anybody's making a fatal mistake. Here's a mistake that everyone makes all the time. My neighbor got X for their house, so I should get 10,000 more. And if you just do that basically now, like when did they get their house sold? Well, they got their house sold in June of 2022. When interest rates were 3%? Yeah. Well, interest rates are double that now. So you've taken your pool of buyers and you've cut it in half. Well, they don't care because, again, their neighbor got more. And even if you had a house that went for less, they would still not believe you. Even if you had a comp that shows, like, look at how the market's going now, they'd be like, no, it's not that bad. You still see the hope in their eyes. It says, when Atlanta-based real estate agent Mara Neal agreed to sell a home this fall, she knew she faced an uphill battle. For one, the housing market had cooled significantly, but worse, these home sellers weren't quite willing to accept the new reality and drop their price. Several months earlier, these sellers had listed their house with another agent for $525,000. When this failed to bring in an offer, the sellers reduced the price to $499,000. Still no bites. Neal suggested that the sellers drop the price again to $450,000, but they fought her recommendation. Neal then suggested the sellers get a second opinion through a pre-listing appraisal. They reluctantly agreed, but thought it was a bit fishy that the appraiser's suggested bottom line came in precisely at Neal's suggested price of $450,000. I've never heard of a pre-listing appraisal. Doesn't make any sense. Neal could understand their disappointment given the COVID-19 of red-hot bidding wars that had ebbed alarmingly fast. Now it probably would have sold in a day in February is just sitting, says Neal, who's with Remax around Atlanta. If they've already been listed for 90 to 100 days, when I get the call, they probably have an inkling they're pricing too high. Still, for many sellers, that's a tough pill to swallow. Look, I talk to people. When somebody wants to sell their house, I say, okay, here's the situation right now. I might lose a deal because somebody else will come in and say, I can sell it for more. It happens, but I just feel like I have some level of integrity. Unless somebody says, look, I want to list it for this, and they want to use me to list it for that. And I say, okay, I guess. But we have to have some sort of strategy to move down in pricing if we don't get any showings, if we don't get any offers, we got to lower the price. And most people are okay with that. It says why home sellers are stuck on high prices. Across the country, real estate agents are having difficult conversation with home sellers who can't quite accept that they won't be getting the same price a neighbor did several months earlier. It's true. They really need to have like one neighbor next to them really like lose their shirt. And then they'd be like, oh, okay, I get it. Realtor.com data confirms sellers' worst fears with the median national list price declining from an all-time high of $449 to $417 in November. According to our most recent monthly report, what's more, the share of listings with price reductions grew from 9% last November to 19.6% this year. I can't imagine coming to market overpriced in the market that you were given over the summer. I mean, you're a total idiot if you would have done that. You deserve not to sell a house if you come to market that high. It's really hard for sellers to adjust to this market, and I even have sympathy for that, says Joan Rogers with Windermere Realty Trust based in Portland, Oregon. Homeowners are basing their expectations on past information that's still out there. In the housing market, the past is still with us in a way that is psychologically and emotionally confusing. Yes. Sean Carpenter with Coldwell Banker in the Columbus, Ohio area has heard his share of, but my neighbor got X in the past few months, he says. It's like a New England Patriots fan saying he's gotten used to winning the Super Bowl, but that was with Tom Brady on the team. Interesting. Can't come up with the word off the top of my head. I can't do it, but an interesting comparison for someone that's in Ohio to be using Tom Brady and the New England Patriots and not someone like the Browns or the Bengals or Ohio State. Anyway, conditions are different now, Carpenter notes, and it's better for you to accept that when your real estate agent tells you that than to learn the hard way by having your home sit on the market for some time. We go over this every night on Twitter. We show you like houses that have come to market way too high and they just sit on the market. Because the longer your home sits on the market, the more reluctant buyers will be to take a look, and the cycle spirals downward from there. I don't look at it that way. Especially not in this market. There's still buyers out there. It's just you just have to be at the right price. If a new buyer comes in the market, they'll still look at your house. They don't really care about days of market. You as an agent kind of feel like if it's been on the market 30 days or more, there's obviously something wrong with it. That's just the way I think. Real estate agents often ask as therapists for people getting ready to make one of the biggest financial moves of their lives, and the upheaval of this market calls for some serious counseling. Look, I do have a problem with this idea that we're going to have continual counseling of the buyers and the sellers. Like when the market was very hot for the sellers, were we counseling them? Not really. Were we counseling buyers during that terrible time? Yes. Don't give up. I'm sorry we didn't get this house, but we'll get the next one. It's going to be okay. So I don't know why you're counseling sellers now, other than they're really wrong on their pricing. Peter Constance, who works for At Properties, Christie's International Real Estate in Chicago, often finds himself acting much like a therapist for distraught sellers who fear they've missed their big chance to catch in. Well, they have. They've missed their big chance. He advises home sellers not to dwell on how much they could have gotten 6 months ago if they weren't ready to move then. Don't think of it as a transaction. Think of it as a transition, Constance explains. That's cute. Still being philosophical about the market can only go so far. Here's a few tips to consider when selling and considering your price in a challenging housing market. Well, this sounds interesting. What are some tips? Consider a plan B before you execute on plan A. Well, what does that mean? It says, it's always a good idea to think about a backup price if your original asking price doesn't come through, but perhaps never more so than during a market in a transition like this. You'll probably find your real estate agent thinks it's a good idea as well. Sometimes we're writing in the contract that if we don't have a certain number of showings or offers by a certain point, that will reduce the price. I don't have that in my contracts. Every Friday, we look at the house and see what it's done over the week, and then we it's buy, sell, or hold. Do we stay and keep the same price? Do we lower the price? What do we do? We never raise the price. That doesn't make any sense. Look at multiple data sources for pricing consideration. Perhaps the best way to price your home is to look at similar homes that have sold recently. But right now, you'll probably also want to evaluate current listings to see your competition, Rogers said. Look at listings that were pulled off the markets to see if they're a pattern with those processors. I mean, this is just basic real estate 101. I mean, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, if someone was listing their home and it didn't sell, it didn't matter because I would always have a showing, a search set up so that you would see everything in the neighborhood that was going up for sale. And if something had come up and gone for sale and sold before anybody bought your place, you knew it was based on price. You just knew that you were wrong. I still would do the same thing now. I still did the same thing now. I had some condos that I listed. Both of those had auto searches set up. So they would know, like, look, here's something that came to market and sold before yours. Luckily, I was able to price things right because I talked it through with my buyers or my sellers, and there were no issues. Don't take it personally. Don't get used to homes. Do get used to homes not selling immediately. We need to get sellers back in the mindset that selling in a day or an hour is not normal. If mortgage rates were still 3 or 4%, buyers would be knocking down your door. That's just the way the market is right now. Now, look, it's also not normal to buy houses sight unseen. That was dumb. It's not a good idea to buy a house without an inspection. That's dumb. And there's a lot of things that were happening that weren't great. And it says, finally, adjust your price quickly if you're not getting an interest. I don't know about that. I've always been loath to do that because it looks like you're desperate. And you don't want to look like you're desperate. You're not going to get the same amount of money for the house. And also be cognizant of holidays. I mean, I had to list a house over Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's. And, you know, people were not around during Christmas this year to look at houses. It just wasn't happening. So lowering the price during that time didn't make any sense because it's not like there were buyers out there anyway. When leaning on your agent's experience is always a good idea, even if the pros don't always get it right. Constance represented a home listing last summer and knew how much a comparable home had just sold for. He suggested an initial listing price of $639 with the expectation that the owner might eventually get $620. 4 weeks later, they had about 4 showings and no offers. The interest rate environment has not only changed, it continues to change. The mood of the consumer is changing quickly. People are frozen in place is what I'm seeing. That's why people like me with 20 years of experience sometimes miss the mark. He advised his client to drop the price to $599. They immediately had nearly a dozen showings and an offer his client was happy to accept. I don't know about that. Why did you miss? Why did you miss that much? You missed it by 40 grand. I mean, above $500,000, $10,000 is no big deal. But still, bottom line, it's best to set the correct price initially. However, if you don't, then act quickly and get decisively get right the second time. Look, for as long as time that's been true, you need to set the correct price initially. People don't believe that, though. I still have people say, "Well, what if we don't list it for that high and we'll never get the price?" I mean, it's a point of negotiation, and yes, they teach that. But with housing and like real estate agents involved all the time, I don't know that we fall for that like you would normally do. If we see a house that's just way overpriced, we don't show it. Like, and you know, if it, like, for instance, if the house comes on the market $50,000 or $50,000 over what it's worth in the first weekend, I'm not even going. I'm not taking my buyers. Because I'm not going to come in and send you an offer $50,000 off the asking price the first weekend. You're not going to take it, and your seller's going to get angry. And I don't need it. It doesn't do me any good. I just want to get deals done. I don't really want to deal with that kind of emotion. So anyway, well, we had a fun show tonight. I'm not thrilled with the way it went. I'm a little more tired than you would think. Maybe that's causing some issues. I don't know. I've got a lot of strong things. We got a lot of stuff for tomorrow night. I mean, we're in good shape. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to head on out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I will catch you on the next one. Good night.